buy a packet of made pasta or Domino sauce or something like that, and they think to themselves, I'm eating healthy, why am I not losing weight? But they don't realise that they're out by 300, 400, 500 calories just because it's been for protein.
Have you ever overeaten on protein and been able to hit it and you're still hungry in nutrition?
They're all or nothing kind of people, where a lot of people I see all the time in the gym is 120% in classes, 120% with running, swimming, yoga, they're training more than me and you, and they're eating like 800 calories.
Welcome to the Peak Collective Seminar podcast with myself, Shane.
Myself, Luca.
And we're here to talk no BS, just fitness in a brand new way. We're smart with the whiteboard. We're going to talk nutrition. So we're going to talk quantity versus quality of what you're eating, when you're eating, and how we can collate them together to get the best out of both worlds.
Yeah. The main thing a lot of people think of is people look at like health foods, for example, right? Yeah. So a perfect example would be an avocado, I always want to think of, which quality-wise is amazing nutrients, amazing fats, etc. But when it comes to calories, can be detrimental depending on the quantity that you need.
And what your goals are.
So as an example, that would be what we were kind of talking about today. A lot of people, I don't know about you, when they first come to me, they might be like, oh, I'm eating so healthy, I've switched white bread to brown bread, white potatoes, sweet potatoes. But they don't also realise a lot of these more nutritious foods also can contain more calories. Yeah. So if you're trying to lose weight or even gain weight, this is kind of stuff that needs to be
We actually said this in one of the last episodes we did in the studio as well, when we did our nutrition one, saying people come to you saying, oh, you know, I've had a smoothie this morning, but you've got 60 grams of fructose sugar in it, 7 of your 5 a day, and no real dense, good calorie, high protein food. And then that's kind of the switch crossover. People are like, oh, I'm being really healthy, but you're actually overeating, and if you just had one slice of toast with 2 eggs. Yeah. So there is a way of both of them.
I don't know what people have against eggs, but a lot of people will be like, oh, I can't eat 3 eggs.
Of course you can.
But then they can eat like a croissant. I'm like, bro,
you're the croissant eater. So when it comes to quality, we're obviously looking at the source of where the food comes from, right? Yeah. So we're not looking at process, we're not looking at packages. One way we always say it, we've said to clients, I'm sure, is when you're looking at your food choices, natural food doesn't just come in packets. It doesn't come pre-made. It doesn't come in nice, bright, colourful packaging for children. Do you know what I mean? It comes in boring, plain packaging. You go to a butcher's, it's in a plastic bag, it's given to you. There's no colour to it. It's just good, plain, fresh food. So obviously we're looking at it just being plain, which sounds boring, but that's a whole food, right? So whole food. Yeah. You're quite a big advocate for this, obviously.
Yeah, I've always said about 80 to 90% of your nutrition should come from whole foods. Yeah. Now, a lot of people kind of get this wrong again when they try to go the more healthy route, and they'll do like a chicken breast, a pack of plain rice, plain broccoli. Yeah, it doesn't have to be boring.
Doesn't have to be boring.
I always think of, I don't know how everyone was brought up, right? But I was brought up very Italian, and the kind of dishes my mum would cook would have a variety of different things. Yeah. So she's not just making broccoli, it'll be like broccoli in a tomato sauce with... 100%. And again, all these things can add together. So if you're making a salad, don't just have lettuce. Add cucumber, add tomato, make it taste nice.
100%. Also, on that note, I'm sure you had it growing up, especially with the Italian background and your mum cooking. Colours, smells, the aroma, make it an enjoyable experience. It doesn't need to be chicken, white rice, broccoli. Like if we're all robots or you're 2 weeks out from bodybuilding, like Neil we've just seen for the last 22 weeks, you get it. If you're going for British Championship, that's what you've got to do. Mm-hmm. If you want some tomato puree over your broccoli, you're fine. It's 1 of your 5 a day. Just make it taste a little bit nicer.
Yeah, and a lot of the time with whole foods, right? Depending on what they are, but let's use vegetables as an example. Yeah. So your leafy greens, so spinach, kale, broccoli, anything like that, you can eat so much of it.
Because it's so dense, 100%.
And again, one of my favourite ways to do it, I don't know how many people like stews or soups, but just collate it all together and make a stew or a soup. Make like a stew with some chickpeas or some legumes with some chicken, or if you're vegetarian, just more legumes or something like that. Yeah. Add a bunch of vegetables inside of it. Add tomato sauce. You got like 12 of your 5 a day.
It's a great meal, right?
And maybe like 300 calories, if that.
100%. Where do we think people go wrong with quality of food? Do you think it's this boring aspect?
I think there's a mixture. I think a lot of people think of whole foods as boring, 100%. But I also think a lot of people don't even know what a whole food is.
Yeah.
So like you just said, how it comes, like chicken breast comes in a packet.
No packaging.
A lot of people will get, I don't know, a cereal bar, like a Special K bar or something like this. Think, oh yeah, that's a healthy whole food. But you actually look at it, it's normally as processed as a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's as unhealthy,
No.
but it's still more processed. And
under one bracket, you say this to me all the time, is you're looking at, without going into different diet techniques, 1 to 5 ingredients.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is classed as like a whole food.
Yeah, so a whole food would be a single ingredient food, right? So chicken breast, broccoli, etc. But life is life, and to be honest, dishes are dishes, right? If I make bread, as an example, that's gone through a process.
Yeah.
If you actually get a bread that's got 3 ingredients, which it should have,
Yeah.
Flour, maybe some sugar, and some like what's it called? Yeast. Cool, that should be it.
Yeah, that's your 3. So that's inside of
but if you
your 1 to 5 ingredients.
Hovis, as an example,
how many ingredients?
14 ingredients, 30 ingredients.
Throwback to 3 episodes ago, where we talk about the shakes and protein bars for convenience. You can see on the camera how many ingredients were in the Oreo bar.
Yeah.
It was a long list. I think it was like 30 or something like that. Again, what Grenade are famous for, but it's convenience. It's quick, on the go. You're not going to go munch a chicken breast if you're out and about from a petrol station.
100%. And I think a big thing to say about this, right, is it doesn't inherently mean that processed foods are bad. It doesn't mean that at all. But what comes with it is typically more calories.
Yeah.
And it's calories that are out of your control. When it's whole food, you can control the portion that you're having because it's a whole food. If you can only afford to have half a chicken breast as part of your dinner, for whatever reason in calories, you can cut a chicken breast and have half a chicken breast.
You know exactly what you're eating.
Yeah, 1, 2 potatoes,
yeah,
as an example. With a processed food, most people don't even know how to read packaging in the first place when it comes to calories and macros and things like that. But secondly, you can't really control how much salt, calories, fats, sugars, everything that's inside of it. All of a sudden, a dish, let's say for example I'm making a tomato pasta dish, that should be 300-400 calories, is 800-900 calories.
With maybe an excess of 20 ingredients of salt, sugar, like you said, which your body just doesn't need, right? It's easy enough to make.
Yes, 100%. And again, I can't reiterate enough with this, is a lot of the time when people see this is they, again, buy a packet of made pasta or Don sauce or something like that, and they think to themselves, I'm eating healthy, why am I not losing weight? But they don't realise that they're out by 300, 400, 500 calories just because it's been through a process. Yeah.
Which is why we always preach calorie counting is the way forward. If you're going to try all these diets, paleo, keto, all of them, intermittent fasting, it all comes down to how many calories you're eating. So, you know, if you want your Don sauce and your pasta, cool, put it in MyFitnessPal, you're on track. Probably not, because like you said, you're going to be 400, 500, 600 calories out because you don't know what's in the food because you're not reading the labels that are marketed. Because it just says high protein, but as we established before, it's probably got more sugar than protein, and then you wonder why you're gaining weight. So that's quality. Pretty much racked up very quickly. As Luca said, we're not saying don't eat a lot of them things. I would rather you slightly overeat by like 20% on a whole food than try get under by halving it. Like if you're going to have an avocado and you don't know the limits, I don't really know many people that would have whole avocado in a meal. But if you're going to have that, I'd rather you have that than like 4 sausages from Asda with nothing in it.
100%, because again, another thing with this is digestibility, right?
Exactly.
Is if something's been through a process, let's say for example, again, sausages, how much actual protein or good amino acids is actually in that food? Probably not a lot. No. That's even if you just got some pork mince and made your own sausages and you get 5% fat mince, you know how much protein, how much fat.
With a lot less fat and everything like
that. And this is, again, you've got to look at it in this bracket. Now, the remaining 20 to 10%, I'm not too fussed.
Enjoy it. No, 80-20. We've said this every podcast episode. We've spoken about food.
Yeah. If you've got 200 calories left, have a chocolate bar. If you've got whatever, have that food. If that's what's going to keep you going. Sometimes, I do know the other spectrum where people just have to cut everything. There's normally 2 different types of people. I'm very much the person that does this. They maybe 300 or 400 calories might be food which is processed. And then that's what keeps me going to keep this 18 or 90%. I know other people that need to do this 100% just because if they have 1 chocolate bar, they want 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. And they've gone over about 2,000 calories.
Exactly what we're going to say here. So off the point Luca's just made, if you're an all or nothing type of person, I'm pretty much one of them. You've taught me out with this, to be fair, is you start at 100%. Right, so you're here. So that's week 1, week 2, days, whatever it is. You're 100%. You got all rubbish, no processed foods, cool. That is slightly, very quickly, you're going to get bored. Because by week 3, you're probably seeing not many results because you've been fat for 15 years and now we're 3 weeks in and you're crying about it. And then it's going to spiral. So that's your all or nothing because you've gone all to get nothing back out of it, basically, unless you're going to keep that for like 12 months. Whereas what we're trying to preach is you can sit at 80 and just maintain. What one would you rather get your results from?
Yeah.
This shaded area, which dips, or you're maintaining for the whole time, 80-20, you have a croissant almost every single day, you have a chocolate bar. Honestly, the amount of stuff he eats and he's lean, I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. But because he's 80% across the year, which as you can see has a better ratio to your body, 80-20 rule, whereas if you dip off 100 and then you might spike back up and then you're going to come straight back down again. I know what one is going to get me quicker results.
I'm sure a lot of you, a lot of people have had the feeling of, don't know why, but whenever I have this meal or this food for a couple of days, all of a sudden I just bloat back up again, and I gain weight, etc. It's very often because of this.
Yeah.
You're going 100%, and a lot of people go a bit too much. So that 100% is more like 120%.
Yeah, you've gone well over the top.
Where they're way too under in calories or way too over if they're trying to bulk. And then they're like, oh, I need to cut or I need to bulk a bit more. And then this kind of happens.
Yeah.
And you suddenly see, let's say you're going for weight loss, those first 4 weeks, 3 weeks, you might lose 10, 12 pounds by doing this. But then all of a sudden, you go here, you gain that 12 pounds back about a month later.
Yeah.
Versus, and this is what I do with a lot of my clients, right? Is you may go the first couple of weeks without even losing weight. But all of a sudden, this consistency piece, with the training as well, is very important with the training side of things too. But let's talk about nutrition. Eventually, they start seeing this weight come off. It may not look like this, but months later, it starts going down. And now you're here, but now you're consistently still dropping. Versus this, where it's a quick spike, then a quick spike again. Then
100%.
a month later, you do the same thing. And this is the yo-yo dieting.
I was literally going to bring up how many of your clients have come to you. Oh, I used to do keto, I used to do intermittent fasting, and then I had someone's birthday, so I put it all back on. I'm like, what, within 2-3 days? Yeah, I just got out of the routine. It shouldn't be a routine. It's a lifestyle. Like, keep going with it. If you're going to spike and then you've had one birthday or it's Christmas and then you're going to come back down crashing at 0%, what's the point? Whereas if you do 80, you've got a 20% leeway. If I know this 20 is my magic number and it's someone's birthday coming up, I've got my 80% good nutrition. I can go out for the curry. I can have a beer. I can go out. I can have my croissant. And I'm not stressed about it. But if I'm at 100, circling everything here, if I'm at 100 all the time, I'm going to feel crap when I get back to 0 because I don't have any reps in reserve for my nutrition. Right? That's the way you've got to look at it.
Well, this is why, if you look at, I've known you for nearly 4 years now. If you look at our actual weights, how much have they fluctuated in the last 4 years?
100%, yeah.
What, a couple kgs?
That's it. There? Nothing.
Yeah. This is another point. I always say to a lot of people, the maintenance is the hardest bit. The hardest bit, coming from weight loss or weight gain, whatever it is, the hardest bit is maintenance. This, for me, is the cure, always. Me and you eat very, very similar in terms of the 80-20 kind of spectrum, maybe me even more so because I love my croissants.
You're more so. I'd say I'm like 92-8.
But I have been in the mid-80s now for years, probably like 5 years, sometimes up to 90, but back down. I fluctuate between maybe 3 to 5 kg. In a year. Versus what a lot of people do is they'll lose 10-20, gain 10-20, maybe 30. And this is how as well you gain weight over years.
That's normally what happens. So you go to 100 for a few weeks, few months, come back down and you've just hit the nail on the head there. You then come back up because you've let go more so than where you actually began. Because you now feel worse about yourself because you were so good before. But now you've gone backwards, you're getting extra takeaways, feeling even crap. You've cancelled your gym membership because you're so rubbish with it because you've hit 0 and then you spike back up. And then you come to me and Luca and we're like, well, we'll just get you sitting there. Nice and slow, back to maintenance.
So, with this, what would you say is like, if we could name like some foods that would help someone just quickly get into an 80-20 kind of diet, what would you kind of say? Just
plain food, normal. Whole food, protein. Every single time you have something protein, it should be a complete protein, good amino acids, and it needs to be a whole food. I don't mind if your 20% is going to be one of them 20-gram yogurts from Aldi as your dessert. Fantastic, fine. If you have that in your 4 meals in a day to hit your 100 to 200 grams of protein, it's probably not going to be working for you.
I agree. And again, we got on this with the Huel thing a couple of videos ago, where I always say to people, no matter what your protein goal is it 120 to 200, whatever it is roughly 30 to 40 grams per meal. Some people more, I hit about 50, but 30 to 40 grams per meal of protein.
Yeah.
Two main reasons, not just to gain muscle. A lot of people think about muscle gain here.
It's not.
It's muscle retention, which is a key when it comes to fat loss, and also obviously muscle gain, but fat loss in particular, because the more muscle we have in our tissue, the faster our metabolism, the easier the weight loss is going to be.
Yeah.
And then secondly, it's also going to be, with the protein side of things, it's more filling. Again, if I fill my plate, so if I borrow that pen, if I fill my plate with about this much protein, maybe even more, think of like a big fistful of protein, right? Well, this kind of goes into the quantity kind of side of things, I guess, now. If I fill my plate up with protein here, okay, 30 to 40 grams, this is going to give me much, much more full than if my carbs and fats were like all of this, if this makes sense. A lot of people's plates I see looks like this. Protein, carbs, and maybe some fats are like
maybe
here as well, probably, right? What I realistically want here is probably even more, if I'm honest, but probably like that. Veg here, and then the carbs and fats here. This is what I want to see. Now, obviously,
move yourself out of the way, show it through.
If you're trying to gain weight, we're probably going to increase the carbs and fats. But for the majority of people out there that watch fitness content, when it comes to wanting to lose weight, etc., this is what I want to see. Protein with veg is going to keep you fuller for longer. This is going to contain way more fiber than anything else. So you're also going to, again, be fuller and have a healthier gut digestive system, which is going to help you absorb the protein better. And you've got the carbs and the fats, which then you just got to think it's actually your energy source, right? That's where we get energy from. We don't need a huge amount. All we need to have is roughly, for the average person, around 100 and something grams of carbs, and give or take around 40 to 60 grams of fats. Again, for the average individual. If you work out a lot, you're obviously going to need a lot more than that. But fats, about a thumbful, I always say.
That's it.
I think like a tablespoon of olive oil. Carbs, about a good handful. Protein, a really good fistful. If you're going for a high protein, I'd say 2 fistfuls. Veg, like clumps.
Just mass.
2-3 handfuls.
Before people start shooting back at us again, with the protein and veg, where Luca's like, up to 50 grams of protein, the reason we're knuckling this down is, have you ever overeaten on protein and been able to hit it and you're still hungry? If I go out for a steak and I eat the steak, the sides are next. I'm so full up. If you prioritise this, I'm not saying go eat 7 steaks a day and have 400 grams of protein. If you prioritise your protein into your veg, you'll be fuller for longer, it's more dense, and it's so much more beneficial for you. And in a minute, when we get to quantity for performance, that's where your carbs and fats come in. If not, your carbs and fats should maintain your lean body mass. That's it. You don't need to worry about your sessions or things like that. That's your daily lifestyle. Fats are then also the highest in calories. So again, when you're bulking or if you're performance training, we then increase it at a later date. If you're not and you're the general pop, these two are all you need to be worrying about.
And let's be honest, when it comes to health, what's the most healthy things? We need amino acids, essential from protein. We need all the nutrition that comes from vegetables and fruits. I preference vegetables most of the time. Vegetables. Fats, 100%, we need fats. But
it's your hormone stabilizer.
A lot of these fats come with protein. If you're having a steak, if you're having chicken thighs, if you're having a protein source,
the skin on the chicken, anything like that.
It's got a lot of fat already. And then if you're cooking that in oil, if you're cooking that with whatever, you add some sauce to your veg or carbs,
you're done.
You've got fats.
Yeah.
Carbs, just keep it simple.
Half packet of rice, a handful of pasta, a potato.
They're my staples.
Yeah.
Rice, pasta or potato.
Always has roast potatoes on like a Wednesday.
I always have potato. I've roasted it. But I also say to people, like you said, preference the protein first, and then preference the vegetables.
Yeah.
And leave the carbs last. I still do this even when I'm bulking, because guess what? I still want to get all my nutritional factors in before I start having whatever carbs I've got. Because I know I'm going to have more carbs throughout the day.
And I think, again, where you've just come from with the cutting and bulking situation of this, these don't change.
No.
Like, my protein might go a little bit higher if I weigh more, but if I've got a high dense 50 in each meal, I'm going to keep it exactly the same. My veg, I'm going to keep it exactly the same. It's my micronutrients. I'm going to need this. If I'm bulking, I'll increase my carbs and fats. If I'm cutting, carbs and fats change.
One or the other,
I'll either bring them up or I bring them down. It's not hard to cut and bulk. People make it this magic thing. You're bulking, that's your plate. Double up on them over time. If you're cutting, decrease them. Nothing else needs to change.
It is that simple. Quantity. What are we saying here, Shane? Maybe kind of touched on it a little bit.
To the back end of that half.
Yeah.
Eat a shitload of food. That's what we do. It works. Unless you're gem pop or cutting, don't do that. Ignore me. Eat mass, but clever.
Describe.
So, quantity, we're looking at performance.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're training once a day, twice a day, whether you're an athlete, you are going to be eating more than these demos that Luca put in here. Okay, so P, V, C, and F. Correct?
C and F, carbs and fats.
Fats. Yeah. That's back from your demo from before.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as we said before, we kind of touched on it. If you are bulking, you're going to increase your carbs and fats. That's the same principle with performance.
Yeah.
But it would more so look like that.
More carbs, less fats.
More carbs, less fats. Yeah. We all know carbohydrates is your main energy source. Whether that's your complex carbs, simple carbs like your glycogen and stuff, it stores in your muscles, it stores in your bloodstream, it releases your energy. We all know that sugar rush feeling if you have some Percy pigs or some chocolate from Halloween or whatever, it spikes it 'cause it's a quicker sugar, right? It's coming straight through your bloodstream, you get a spike, which is why you probably see people have the Rice Krispie Squares bars before their sessions, honey, things like that, because it's a quick absorbing sugar. It's in the body, it's quick, you can use it straight away. Whereas when you come in with like the rice, the pasta, the potatoes, this is what we say will fuel kind of your day.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So, what's the difference between quantity and quality?
Well, let's go. So quality is going to be, again, like we touched on, so the whole foods, the quality of the food. Quantity is basically how much of it are we going to have.
Yeah.
And how much of, I'd say, the whole food versus processed kind of comes in to all that as well. I'd argue personally, when it comes to performance, you can maybe increase the processed food slightly. Not saying to have a lot of chocolate, I'm on about things like electrolytes, I'm on about things like sugar gels and things like this, which I would never recommend for the average person to have. But say you're doing a competition or whatever else, I know people that drink maple syrup during a comp, things like this where I would never recommend that to the average person. When it comes to actually performance, marathon, Ironman, whatever, you're going to need some of the stuff to keep you going. That's the truth.
I get it the whole time at a CrossFit comp or a games day or local competition. Most people, I've done that wrong, opt in for sugar.
Yes.
I've got 5 workouts in a day. I've got a 1 hour gap between. I'm not filling up on potatoes.
No.
That'll be my day before. That'll be my 48 hours before. I'm carb loading into the competition. On my big day, everyone has, you've probably seen the cyst gels, the little energy gels, electrolyte tablets with sugar in, because as we've touched on before, rehydration needs sugar. Yep. And then just Haribo's Rice Krispie Squares bar a lot, because it's quick, it's glycogen, it goes into your bloodstream. Why do you think Lucozades were the pinnacle of football with Powerade for years? High sugar, quick bloodstream, it enhances performance, which I don't really get why primes come into it, because there's no sugar into it, but that's another touch. But it's another touch. So when it comes to performance, especially on competition days, like marathons, they hand out cyst gels because it's sugar, it hits you quickly. But that doesn't mean you can have access and loads of added sugar to your diet.
No, again, this would purely be comps.
Yeah.
Like if you're not doing a competition, you ain't having the stuff. You might have it a little bit if you've got a really hard workout or whatever else. I sometimes have like an in-between carbohydrate during my workout if it's a really hard one, but I'm not having like a load of this stuff like it's the actual competition. The average person that goes gym just for strength training, just for hypertrophy, doesn't even have to care about this stuff, if I'm honest. This is purely going to be competitions, things like this, and this is where the quantity of this is going to come in. Obviously, again, you need your whole foods. Yeah. But I would look at whole foods when it comes to the performance side of things for the actual performance. Yeah, yeah. So I'm looking at the protein, instead of thinking about muscle mass and things like that, yes, I'm thinking more about the recovery aspect, 100%. Using protein for that. I'm thinking of fats to actually keep your hormones healthy, whilst you're probably going to have a massive under recovery from the performance. Yeah. And then carbohydrates, both, like you said, complex and basic, to actually keep fueling you throughout the day. And vegetables just keep you healthy, because you're going to be ill.
You need to have it in part of your diet, yeah. We're not going to preach that you can't have your 5 a day on the plate.
No. If not, you need more.
Yeah.
And probably some supplements that actually up that a little bit more.
Up it a little bit more.
Well.
I think when you are training, whether this could literally be your 5 time a week gym session, but if you're pushing yourself hard, high intensity gets results, you're going to need somewhere on this spectrum where we're saying increase your food for your performance. Mainly from your carbs, I would say most importantly, I hope you agree with me here, we haven't actually discussed this, pre and post workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were worried then?
Sometimes, like I said, in between with the more processed stuff.
Pre, intra, and post.
Yeah. This I'd give or take, depending on.
I'm going.
Dependent on the type of workout you're doing. These two, obviously, you see me all the time. If I'm having a croissant or if I'm having like chocolate, I typically try and do this around my workout. So I'm trying to utilize the carbohydrates around it. Especially if it's a hard one.
Yeah.
Intra, I rarely do because I don't train like you. But when I have done harder sessions, when I was training for Spartan, I would use this as well.
Inside. And what would your intra look like?
Just literally as sugary as sugar can be.
Sugar.
Like I said, Percy Pigs, Haribo, maybe a Lucozade.
We're not preaching sugar, by the way.
but also, I don't want people to demonize sugar.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I talk about it all the time with coffee.
Yeah.
But 1 teaspoon is not that many calories. Now, if you're having a lot of sugar, then yeah, we have to cut that out. But if you're eating, again, this is a big one, if you're eating 80 to 90% like we're just on about, whole food, there's not going to be that much sugar at all. You're not going to have much sodium. So, to be fair, with the people that actually eat that 80 to 90% whole food, you can afford to have that 1 teaspoon of sugar. Yeah. You need to have salt. You're actually going to have to 100%. Add some sodium into your food. If your diet looks more like 80 to 90% processed and 10% whole food, do not add sugar.
Do not go into this because all the processed food would normally have the red label.
Yeah. Look at the quality first. Once you've got that, then we can start looking at actually adding this stuff if we need.
100%. That is such an accessory at the highest level, especially for competitions or match days and things like that. We're not preaching to have this on your regular 9 to 5 gym session.
And going into this quantity again, I really want to touch on when you look at someone that comes to you and wants to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
And they might be running 5 times a week, 5k kilometers a day, going gym every day in classes. Yeah. And then you look at their calories and they're eating like 1,000 calories, right?
100%.
This is actually where this comes in with the quantity as well. Yeah. Sometimes you're not, it sounds crazy, but sometimes you're not actually eating enough to actually recover from what you're doing. Again, we go back to what you were saying about the 100% to 80% in terms of the training.
Yeah.
This is where this comes in.
Same as nutrition.
They're all or nothing kind of people. Where a lot of people I see all the time in the gym is 120% in classes, 120% with running, swimming, yoga. They're training more than me and you.
Yeah.
And they're eating like 800 calories. And they wonder why they're plateauing every single session.
And why they're so lean.
Lean,
in a bad way,
but
with
like
nothing
fat.
in mass. Yeah,
like they're skinny and they've got a lot of fat.
Yeah.
And it's because you're not actually recovering and you're not actually getting enough nutrients in your thing. If you're having 800 calories a day, there's not a chance you're getting enough protein.
Nope.
Not a chance you're getting enough carbs, and not a chance you're getting enough fat. You're probably just having salads with maybe
I was literally about to say it's probably some veg and some salad with maybe a handful of chicken.
And some fruit.
Yeah.
That's the type of people like me.
100%.
And we need to change that. We need to prioritise protein, which will come with some fats, especially if you're eating again meat. We need to prioritise actually having some carbohydrates. Again, complex. So look at your potatoes, sweet potatoes, etc. And then once we've got that, we can add that quantity. So if you're currently this person, just increase the main whole foods. Yeah. Don't increase it with processed. Once you've got this, and you want to be training for a marathon, CrossFit, high rocks, you've got that written down as well, we can start adding this in. So I just wanted to add
that. Processed food, yeah, 100%. We're going to bring it back slightly to the mealtime and the carbohydrates, because as we said, the main thing we're going to increase here are the carbs, whether that's sugar at the highest level, or your mealtime and pre and post workout, like you might have a croissant and stuff. Mm-hmm. I would always preach pre-workout, if you can get 2 hours before for slow, good energy carbs, so you're looking at your rice, potato, pasta, whatever. Cool, 2 hours before. I then preach the closer you get to your workout if you haven't eaten, the higher sugar intake it should be. Okay. Which is where people go wrong, and they all panic and you've got 10 minutes and you wolf down a banana, and then you throw up. Yeah. Because it's not a complete meal as we've gone into before. Yep. So if you can, you're looking at your good carbs, 90 minutes to 2 hours before training. Yeah, agreed. And I would also say post, good carbs as quick as you can. Yeah. Again, the more simple you can get in a good way. Like you'd always have a croissant after your workout because your body's going to use the glycogen in it. It's not going to store as a fat cell. Be smart about when you're having it.
Yeah, always. I try and not have that kind of stuff in the evening.
100%.
This is touching more on the circadian rhythm side of things, which we won't touch into today. But if I'm having this is always going to be around my workouts, not in the evenings, maybe on a Saturday night or something, but it's not going to be every day. This is where most people go wrong as well. They're having the crisps, the chocolates and stuff right at the end of the day before bed. Not a great time. If you're going to have it around your workout.
That's the thing with sugar as well. Like you said, circadian rhythm, all of that. With sugar, if it's not used, when it's glycogen, all of that, it stores as a fat cell. Your body can only hold so much of that before it gets excess, which is when we then go into diabetes, obesity, overweight, and then you come and hire one of us two. That's where it goes to, because your sugar level, which does come from carbs as well, we know that, that's cool, that's why everyone hates on carbs, but it's just because you're not using them. Pre-post workout, intra-workout, be smart when you're having them.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, but for performance, we are looking at increasing your carbs, increasing your fats. Protein and veg pretty much stays the same, if not an increase as well.
Yeah, if I'm doing a diet plan for someone, be it weight gain or weight loss or performance, protein and veg is always going to be high, always. Yeah. I don't care. I give people unrealistic numbers of protein because I want them to try and eat as much protein.
You can't overeat on protein, right? You might not use it, that's fine.
It typically will make them eat less. I'll give someone 200 grams,
100%.
They might only need 150 because I know they're not going to get to 200. But 100%. Because they're aiming towards that, it ends up they're not eating as much of the processed foods. So now they're eating more protein, more vegetables. They're having less calories just naturally. Yeah. Fats for performance, I would purely say it all depends on the type of performance that you're doing. It would depend on how much fats I'm going to give that person. I'm always a fan of giving the minimum amount for hormone levels, things like that. Yeah. And it will depend on the type of exercises you're doing for the amount of fats that you're having.
Then they can go up.
Yeah. So, for example, if you're an endurance athlete and things like this, you're probably going to need some more fats because they're a much longer lasting fuel source. If you're having carbohydrates, we're still going to have a ton of carbs.
A ton of carbs, yeah.
But let's say, for example, you're a bodybuilder. That's the perfect example. You're not going to need that much fats.
No.
You just need
because you're trying to keep it off. Yeah.
That and plus your type of training is not going to dictate needing 200 grams of fats. Just not.
Straight away.
Unless you're going keto, but that's another story. But yeah, just to break it down as simple as possible when it comes to quality and quantity.
Sum this up.
Protein and veg, always the same, no matter what the calories are. Then I'm going to look at the carbohydrates, how many carbohydrates that person need for their performance, for their energy levels during the day, etc. Then I'm going to look at the fats last. I kind of leave that to the end to be like...
As long as you've got your hormone amount in there, I don't need to change it.
No.
Unless you're hitting plateaus.
Unless I think that person needs more fats.
Yeah.
Some people, I will say, might just generally run better with more fats than less.
That's trial and error.
I'm the kind of that person I've found out through the years.
Yeah.
So I have more fat than a lot of other people. But again, my fat mainly comes from olive oil and chicken.
That's it. Yeah.
So that's the majority.
It's not that much.
But I have a lot of chicken, so that's also where my fat comes from, and eggs, obviously. But yeah, anything else you wanted to touch on before we finish?
No, just literally like we've said, be smart with your quality and quantity of eating, whether that's performance or your aesthetics. Yeah. They do go hand in hand.
I just want to touch one more thing. To the quality versus quantity, the easiest breakdown you can ever do is if I have a chicken breast, 200 calories, give or take, depending on the size, 30 to 40 grams of protein, like hardly any fat, I don't even know, like maybe 5 grams to 10, depending on the size, and like 0 carbs, okay? For 200 calories. If we get a grenade bar, which we spoke about the other day, we got 224 calories for 20 grams of protein. We've got, what was it again, like 10 or 15 grams of fat?
Up to 15 grams of fat, depending on the bar. And about 16 grams of carbs.
And about 16 grams of carbs, okay? For roughly the same amount of calories, if not a little bit more, right?
More calories in the protein bar.
This, we're getting way more protein, hardly any fat. It's probably less than this, depending on the size of the chicken breast, and no carbs. Yeah. Okay? This, we're getting a ton. Okay?
This is your complete protein source for your meal. If you're going to supplement this in, you've got next to not even half your carbs, next to not even half your fat, but more calories and at your protein target. Yep. So it makes no sense that is a supplement for the chicken breast.
Average female, let's say you're having between 1,600 to 1,800 calories. this is already quite a decent amount of
Taking it away,
calories.
yeah.
With just getting 20 grams of protein, why not have the chicken?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people are weird and they'll go for this versus just buying a pre-cooked chicken breast. Just get the chicken breast.
100%.
Then you can actually add stuff to it.
Or they would have this with the salad that you mentioned about earlier, which makes absolutely no sense. But yeah. So what's your quality? What's your quantity? We'll do a part 2 on this, going more in depth on these topics solo, because there's a lot of information we get that. But as a quick, rough breakdown, quality, whole foods, quantity, carbs and fats increase depending on your exercise level and the performance you're at.
Just doing this, I promise you, no matter what you're trying to do, you're going to see the results come.
Yeah.
I do this with all my clients at the beginning. It may take them longer to get this, but if you can get this, I promise you, 10 years down the line, you'll maintain or at least get to your goal way quicker and maintain your goal. Longevity
will be so much better.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much, bro.
Comment, subscribe. Hopefully you like this video. It's very informative and there's a lot of information there. But that's also why we're here. But also trying to teach you about things to actually help you guys out.
Show you into our industry. It's what we do on a daily basis.
Cool.
Sweet. Cheers.